Welcome to Data Dude Library. In this video, I'd like to share with you 6 things I think you should know when starting with Excel. Stay tuned until the end of the video for tips on formatting your data effectively. Let's get started. Tip number 1, use templates. When you first open Excel, you're going to see a variety of templates available to you. Those templates range from making a list, tracking tasks, many different budgets, schedules, invoices, and many really great things that are pre-programmed for you to use. Tip number 2, think about your layout. Think about the layout and the design of the Excel sheet before you get started. Think about what your rows and columns would look like. Think about your input values, what you're going to calculate, how it's going to be formatted, and how you think you're going to display it. Is it going to be a table, a chart, a graph? Those are all things that are going to make this process a lot easier. Tip number 3, shortcuts. There are 6 shortcuts I think everybody should be familiar with. It will really speed up your workflow and it will just make your life a lot easier. First one is Command C, which stands for copy. Let's say I wanted to take this cell, says Data Dude, and copy it into a different place, into a different cell. I would highlight this cell, press Command or Control C, go over to where I wanted and press Command V for paste, which is our second shortcut. What's really great about Command V and copying and pasting is that you don't have to just paste into one cell. You can select the cells you want pasted into and press Command V and it will paste it into all of these cells. It doesn't matter if it's vertical or horizontal or both. The next shortcut is Command X, which means to cut. I can highlight this data, press Command X, and paste it into a different spot. And now instead of copying it into that place and leaving this behind, it will actually take it from here and move it into a different place. So let's say I want to cut it into this spot right here. I would just press Command V for paste, and it will cut it and paste it into a different location. If I feel like I made a mistake, I can undo this by simply pressing Command Z. If I want to undo what I just undid, I would press Command Y to redo. The last command I feel like you should know is Command 1, which brings up the Format Cells menu. This menu allows you to control what the cell looks like, from number to alignment to font to border to fill and protection. Tip number 4, Autofill. To save time, you can use the Autofill option of Excel to fill in certain patterns. Let's say I have this column here, and I wanted to put numbers 1 through 21 next to it. I would simply just write 1 and 2 just to get the pattern started. I'm going to highlight these 2 cells. You see this little dot here on the bottom right. I can hover the mouse over it or the cursor over it and notice it changes to a black plus. If I take that and double click it, notice it fills the series going down until the Data Dude wording stops in column A. Another way I could have done it, let's say I only wanted to go halfway down. I would just start my pattern, highlight it, and let's say I only want to go down to halfway. I would press that little dot on the bottom right and drag it while holding down the left mouse button and dragging it down. You can do any recognizable pattern you would like. Let's say I only wanted even numbers. I will go ahead and put in 2, and then 4, then maybe 6. You just to give the computer an idea of what the pattern is going to look like. And again, drag it down. And notice all the numbers are now even numbers. Tip number 5, sort and filter. Being able to sort and filter the list is one of the most important things you'll do in Excel. In order to sort and filter, the first thing you want to do is to highlight your data. In order to highlight the data, you can of course go to the top left, click and drag, and that will highlight your data. That's great if you have a small amount of data, but if you have a large list, that is not very practical. So there are 2 other ways you can do this. One is to go over here to the top left where this triangle is and click that, and that will highlight the whole entire sheet. From that, you can easily sort and filter through. Another way you can do this is to click inside of your data table and press Command A. That will highlight your whole entire list, provided that you don't have any spaces, such as empty columns or empty rows. Once you have your list highlighted, go to Sort and Filter here on the top right, press Custom Sort. First thing you want to make sure is My List Has Headers is checked off. I strongly suggest you have headers, as it will help you organize your data. Then, go over to this blank space right under column and left click. That will give you your header names. I'm going to select name, and I want to organize from A through Z. I'm going to press OK, and here we go. My list is now organized from A through Z. Let's say I wanted to organize it by experience and then by state. I will go over to Sort and Filter again and press Experience. Then press the plus sign, press the state, and press OK. Now I have this organized by experience and by state. The other option I would like to talk about here is the filter option. Notice once I press filter, little triangles here show up on the header row, which again is the reason why you really need the header row. Once I press the little triangle, it gives me a little menu. So let's say I wanted to only see anybody that's from New Jersey. I would deselect everything and select only New Jersey. Notice now my list only shows people that are in New Jersey. To go to a previous view, click Sort and Filter and Clear. That will clear the filters you have applied. There are other options for filters. Let's say I wanted to see anybody with a salary of greater than or equal to $30,000. Notice this menu has all these options. It even has top 10, bottom 10, above average or below average, which are great quick tools to take a look at. I want to filter by greater than or equal to, say, $40,000. Now, my list only shows me anybody that's making $40,000 or more. Last tip I would like to share with you is AutoSum. AutoSum is this little hidden summation button here on the top right. And it seems like all it does is sum. But if you click this little arrow pointing down, it has many other functions that you can choose from. So let's say I wanted to find the sum of all these salaries. I would select the cell right under my salary and press the sum button. Notice it automatically knows which cells to select. And then press enter. And that is my total. Let's say I wanted to know the average instead of the sum. I would again select the cell right under the last cell. Select this little arrow and find average. Press enter. And that is my average. Another thing you can do is to count how many numbers there are. So I would again press this down arrow, press count numbers, and it's going to count everything that's in blue, how many numbers there are. Press enter. There are 20 numbers. As you can see, there are many, many more things you can do. And if you press more functions, it will give you a list of almost 300 functions that you can use. Tips on formatting. Tip number 1, always have a header row. That is extremely important. As you saw in some of these examples, having a header row will make it so much easier on you. Tip number 2, no blank rows or columns. When you're trying to autofill something, empty rows and columns will cause you many, many problems. Never merge cells. Merging cells may look nice and it's appropriate in the final product or whatever presentation you're going to do, but in the data itself, you never merge cells. The last tip is to keep your data consistent. Notice with the state, I didn't write out the word New Jersey and then used FL for Florida. I used the same abbreviation for all of it. Thank you for joining me today. Look out for more videos on Excel from beginner to advanced. I hope to see you next time.